Hi everyone. I'm on a little bit early. The game's just about to finish here. Usman Khawaja is bowling what looks like the last over of the innings. Pakistan have absolutely creamed this. They've absolutely championed this result amazingly. It's been fantastic to watch. Was watching some reasonable spin here from Khawaja. Should have put him in earlier. Shafiq's now 136 and not out. It's just been amazing, this performance by these openers. I'll go through that in a minute in more detail. We'll dissect how good these. It's the best opening punch by Australia against, by Pakistan against Australia ever. Would you believe? So in Shafiq's 136 not. I just think just confirm that. Quite incredible, guys. I thoroughly enjoyable match. No one should be against this match. This has been thoroughly enjoyable, I must say. I'll go through some stats in a minute here. The Imam al-Haq has to be the player of the match, you would think, with centuries in both innings. Let's look. So 252. Pakistan lead by 269. Let me stop telling you some of these details. So Pakistan were 4 for 476, and then in turn none for 252. Shafiq on 136. Let's get this right. 130. So let's just get this last one. No, I've got this. 136 not out, and Imam not out. 111. Amazing. Lead Australia 459 by 269 runs. Just a lot to be taken out of this, actually. A lot to be taken out of this, guys. Okay, let's look at this. So, Imam Shafiq makes centuries as test finishes on a confidence boost. Confidence boosting draw. So next thing, here's this interesting stat. Shafiq 136, 111. It's 247. 478 runs. So they got 136, 247, and then 201 of the first. It's 448. Yeah, they scored 136, 136 and 111 is 247. And 201 is 448. What an incredible result. So I'll just repeat that for you in case you're not hearing that. So Imam al-Haq and Shafiq make centuries as test finishes as a confidence-boosting draw. Openers put together the second century stand of the test, now scoring well with 448 runs together. Pakistan 4 for 476 and 252 for none. Shafiq 136, Imam 111. My God. Interesting start. Hazelwood and Cummins only bowled at hand, but 15 overs out of 77. It's not very good. Pakistan really have done a good job here and led by 269. In the end, it's quite an incredible effort, guys. Incredible. And we're talking more about it as much. Really, Australia, all 369. Actually, 369. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of their 11 players bowled. The only one to not bowl, obviously, was Alex Carey. I was trying to see who else is. Dave Warner didn't bowl. Yeah, so no wickets for 252. That was immensely draining for Australia. They were light on with Hazelwood, Stark, and Cummins and things. So I said they only bowled some 15 overs out of 77, which is certainly because they were keeping in mind the next test and they held back, which yeah, all right. Well, maybe they should use their better bowlers more so than they did. Anyway, so Pakistan, the two openers collectively scored 448 runs, 201 in the first innings, and 247 actually in the second. Incredible. So there's been three, averaging roughly a century per player per innings, the openers that is. Well, three of them came from century, the fourth one was 44, but Imam al-Haq, who will be probably man of the match, scored the 150 odd to cover that nicely. It's quite an incredible result, indeed. And we'll watch the ceremonies of player of the match and live, but it's going to be Imam al-Haq, it'll have to be. Don't you think? So Australian cricketers are the best in the world game. Very nice to show this best of them. They are the best, but not today. I'll tell you what, Pakistan have showed us up brutally. We only took 4 wickets in the entire match. 4 wickets in the first innings, in fact. And in total, 476, 676, 628, 728 runs for only 4 wickets. So Pakistan saw 728 runs for 4 wickets, with their openers getting 3 centuries between them, and the fourth was a total 44, and obviously then Azhar Ali got 185. The top order, all 3 scored centuries. Imam al-Haq 2, Shafiq and Azhar Ali scored centuries. So, and in the Australian total, 459, which were bowled all out for, all 10 wickets fell. Not one single Australian batsman got a century. But in the case of Pakistan, there were 4 centuries. Azhar Ali 185, Imam al-Haq 157. He followed up with 111, and obviously the 136 from Shafiq. He looked really good too, by the way. So that is quite a slaughter. That's quite a slaughter, guys. It is a slaughter. It's a loss. Sorry, no, it's not a loss. It's a draw, but it's virtually a loss to. I would argue. Bowling effort. Okay. Now, summary, there we have it. And we've got the commentators talking to. Is it Bob Braslam? It doesn't look like Bob Braslam from the second. I'm not sure who they're talking to, actually. That's not Bob Braslam. It's Abdullah Shafiq, the opening batsman, who got 136 not out. He got his pads off quickly. It looks like he hasn't batted. He's just come off to 136 again. It looks incredible, Nick. It's just amazing how fit these guys are and how well they play. Again, Azhar Ali got 185. Imam al-Haq got 157, followed by 111. And then Shafiq got 130. Was it 138 or 136? 136. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal, guys. Really, they've smacked Australia. Even though it was a draw, it's a smacking. Worst test match of the decade? No, it wasn't. Not at all. No way was it the worst test match. It was grinding. It's a mental disintegration of Australia. Australia would be very embarrassed about only taking 4 wickets in 2 innings. And with that, having a team score 4 centuries against them, and also have no wickets for 252, the highest ever opening stand by Pakistani side. That's not, you can't say, oh, it's the pitch. It was the pitch because Pakistan got Australia all out for 459 and took all 10 wickets, including Norman getting 6. So yeah, there's no way that you can take away from that performance. It was a draw, but I'd say a confidence-boosting draw is the way I would describe it. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about some match history there that I think is relevant too. That it was the 10th time that a Pakistani batsman got centuries in both innings, and really very impressive indeed. Really impressive. Confidence. I'm writing here. Confidence boost for Pakistan. Really, you would not have expected that to be the case, and Australia have to make some bowling changes, aren't they? You're probably going to see Stark not play next match, and they're probably going to bring Agar and possibly look at putting Scott Boland in as well. It's been very impressive. Shafiq was particularly good today, and none for 252 after having scored 105 run opening partnership. So their partnerships in total have been 357. Pretty damn impressive. Teams don't realise the importance of WTC, and host has to ensure they are as a result-oriented match, and some assistance to bowlers will not do anything. Now you can't. Okay, but this draw is still significant. I'm telling you, it is very important. The pitch status can look. It's a test match. These pitches are notoriously that way. It's not something unusual or new. And on top of that, it was I found it very interesting. I found watching batsmen like Azhar Ali get 185, Imam Al Haq do well on both things, 157 and 111, with Shafiq getting 136. It just showed up Australia's bowling. Again, I'll say it again, Pakistan got all 10 wickets of Australia for 459, admittedly 459, but no Australian batsman got a century, and only got 6 wickets. So you can't downplay the significance of that. Host lose out on points, Norman, okay, and it affects their final qualification. Doesn't really, okay, I'm not fully aware of that. You can't blame them for the pitch. I don't know whether that's necessarily Imam Al Haq. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can. There's plenty of examples where pitches are not good, and I don't know. I think we're being a bit hard on Pakistan. They've just done great work. Is Will Bukowski can come in this week and shoot? So apparently he is he apparently is. Whether he'll go much further is another thing. Poor display of Test cricket. No, I don't agree. I agree with when Mark Taylor, the last time they played there in 1998, he scored a triple century. Was that necessarily uplifting? I don't know. I think this was a great performance. Just go back and look at some of the stats in it. Black day of what WTC. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think it was a particularly important match for the overall series. You could well see Pakistan just grow even more in confidence. You could see them win the next match and possibly all 3, as in the last 2, being 2-0 up. Because of this confidence and this momentum they're building, the Australian bowlers will be very tired, very mentally drained. Australia will have to make changes now. Stark will probably go, and then maybe another, with Boland and probably Agar coming in. Will Swepson play in the Karachi Test? That's the question. I think Agar's over Swepson. Maybe they'll put both of them in. I don't know. But even Nathan Lyon only took 1 wicket in the entire Test match. And there are only 2 other wicket takers, with a run out also occurring. So, yeah, there's not a lot going on there in terms of who are the other wicket takers. We're not. Cummins took a wicket, Lyon took a wicket, so someone else took 1 wicket, and that's it. And all these part-time, and Travis Head shouldn't be bowling. It's pretty embarrassing to see Travis Head bowling. He's very part-time at best, and I don't think much of Labuschagne as a bowler. Even Smith certainly has not impressed me either. So, yeah, I just think we probably saw the worst of Australian bowling. Batting was pretty reasonable. Although they didn't score centuries. That was the difference. But yeah, there's too much talk about how bad the pitch is. I don't think that's the issue here at all. I don't think we need to be wary of talking about that. It's not. There's too much talk about how. Yeah, it is. It is something that really Australia should play with 11 batsmen next test. Well, yeah, well, they still wouldn't have enough, would they? I mean, really. So Labuschagne took a wicket, Cummins took a wicket, and obviously Lyon took 1. Labuschagne took a wicket. Oh my God, I don't think much of it as a bowler. Cummins took it. Stark doesn't look like he's taken a wicket in the whole test match, nor has Hazelwood. So the question is, do we need to have Stark? If Stark and Hazelwood not going to bowl many overs and not take wickets, why not clearly put in Agar and probably Scott Boland? I think those 2 probably need to be given a Guernsey. And Imam Al-Haq, take my hat off him, 157 and 111 not out. So effectively, he has a batting average from this test of 268. And Shafiq, with his 136 not out and 44, has a batting average of 180. So 268 and 180 are the batting average of the two opening batsmen from the first test match. None for 252. We can't talk about it being a black day for WTC. It was a big slam in Australia's face. Pakistan will be very, very happy with this. There'll be a confidence-boosting draw. Admittedly, it's a draw, not a win. And that puts them in good stead for the match in Karachi. Australia will be in a bit of disarray. They'll be a bit tired. The bowlers are going to have to look at Stark and possibly Hazelwood not being put in the next test. If you take out Stark and Hazelwood from this test match, they were ineffective. They both did not take one single wicket. Cummins took a wicket, Labuschagne, and the other being Lyon. And then the run out was another one. So that's 4 wickets out of a possible 20 in a match were taken. And some 728 or whatever it was in terms of runs, 476 and 252 is 728 runs for 4 wickets. It's one of the most unimpressive bowling ever from Australia in a long, long time. And we can say it's the pitch. Well, again, look back at what Australia got, 459. That was commendable, but they lost all their 10 wickets, and one bowler got 6. So it was annoying. So it's Shafiq not out 136, Imam Al-Haq not out 111, 252 off to 77 overs. That's well over 3 and over. Very commendable. Azhar Ali, Babar Azam, I did notice, never once put his pads on. Babar Azam never put his pads on. And he's batting at 4 after 2 wickets falling. So he had the supreme confidence not to put his pads on with Azhar Ali in front of him, thinking that there's no way they're going to need him if those 3 are in, because they've proven the first innings they only lost 4 wickets. It's quite incredible. Why Aussie not playing ODI said Australia against Side Banks? Don't know. Can't ask that question. Look at the pitch. Do you rate it as poor? No, I do not rate it, Robert M. It's not poor. As I said, 10 wickets were taken by Pakistan. Although it was 459, 10 wickets were taken. No Australian batsman got a century. So, well, does that make it a bad pitch for both teams? No. One team got 4 centuries, the other team got no centuries. That tells you something. Okay. Any update on Warren's funeral, Norman? Well, the state service will probably be at the MCG. The body's now apparently in Bangkok. In the next 48 hours, it'll be expatriated or taken back to the autopsies have taken place. He has been cleared as being being totally non-suspicious death, natural causes, a heart attack. He's obviously been taking place again within the next 48 hours. What's today? But Tuesday, probably by Thursday, the body will be back in Australia, and I would imagine not this week, but next week, probably Monday or Tuesday, the state funeral will take place. Maybe Wednesday, but around Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, I'll say, at the MCG, and there'll be a private service for the family as well. I'm hoping to go down to Melbourne to be a part of that, so let's see how we go. 90 plus close enough for a century. No, it's not. It's not a century. I'm afraid that's what you base batsmen on. What about Green? Special talent. He is, but it didn't really have much to do in this match. I don't think the captaincy was good from Australia. They should not. They underutilised Cameron Green. In the second innings, they deliberately bowled Hazelwood, Stark, and even Cummins himself very minimally, some 15 overs out of the 77. They're saving them back for the next test match. Well, I'm afraid that's not good enough. There, the frontline bowlers should be there taking wickets. Imam Al-Haq seems to have got the player of the match, understandably so, the little trophy. He's quite happy. He gets Pakistan rupees, I think it was 10,000. West Indies versus England test starting in a couple of hours, correct? Cricket Hub, Pakistan are not brave enough to play on pace. I've got nothing but good to say about Pakistan, I'm afraid. They did a fantastic job. And in particular today, they could have taken it easy, seeing that the draw was on the cards, but they know they ground Australia into the dirt. An entire 5th day of a test match, not one wicket was taken, none for 252. It's been a long time since I've seen any form of cricket on any pitch receive such a result. So now, okay, the pitch was relatively flat, yes, but Australia fell all 10 wickets in their first innings and did not score a century, whereas Pakistan in both innings scored 4 centuries in total. Do you think Warner's passing and Marsh's had an effect on the team? Robert M, I think they did, because if you look at Ponting, Clark, a whole range of other ex-players, they've all been crying their eyes out. Glenn Maxwell's been a mess. So I kind of agree with that. I think the team would have been rocked by Rod Marsh. They're all pretty close to him, and they're also pretty close to Warne. And, so that would have been pretty hard, for sure. A lot of these players looked up to Warne. Smith and Warner and a whole range of players actually emulated their bowling up from him. So, yeah. Do you like Aussie bowling approach? No, I don't. I think it was very pedestrian. Lyon, a lot of pressure on him to bowl well. He can't do it on his own. He needs another spinner and Tam. They should have had Agar in there. Stark bowled, I think, in the second innings particular, atrociously. Hazlewood, albeit a very good bowler, was somewhat ineffective. Cummins is the captain, so he stays. So Cummins and Lyon are the only 2 bowlers that can effectively stay. They're going to bring in Agar. Stark's got to go. And then they bring in Boland. Either Hazlewood or potentially Cameron Green need to go. That's the next question. Yeah, why don't Australia play more of the minnows? I just don't know. They're not. I'm not sure. They just don't. They try to play Bangladesh, but it's often in our winter, and I think it's just not happened. And also, COVID hasn't helped us. So there's your answer question. Do not ask me in the questioning. Answer my question, because I'm reading every single question. Okay, please don't say that to me. Why Aussies always give back Stark? He is not at his best in the last 2 years. I agree. I don't understand. I think they've held him for quite a while now. He's very inconsistent. Mind you, he did play well in the last Ashes series. He played relatively well because he was given heaps by none other than Shane Warne. Should IC take action against the pitch? No. It wasn't. Guys, you have flat tracks. It happens around the world. They have wickets which are too bowler friendly. This is more of a batting friendly track. So be it. They're going to score the runs. 4 centuries from Pakistan, 4 for 728 runs. Poor bowling from Australia, and Pakistan got them all out for 450. So Pakistan did get Australia all out. And they didn't score a century. So no, pitch was not to blame. Pakistan versus Zimbabwe. Okay. If Australia lose both tests, they qualify. I think they're going to find it. Well, they're currently number 1 and 2. Australia's 1, Pakistan's 2. So if Pakistan can win this series, that puts them into number 1, and Australia might drop a couple. They'll be still in with a chance, yes. They're going to play Sri Lanka at home, which won't be easy, and they'll play India at home, which home as in home for India, and that won't be easy at all. Yeah, Australia really struggled. I can't see, albeit Agar's in a good spinner and Boland's bowled very accurate. I can't see really the lineup changing. They're relying too heavily on Lyon. Lyon can't do it by himself. If they're going to put Cameron Green in there as an all-rounder, they've got to bowl him, and they didn't. He better well got 48. Kawaja's no problems. Warner, Labuschagne did quite well. And Steve Smith did okay. They did okay. Nobody really went on and scored a big century. Okay. Aussie still favourites the next 2 matches? No. Not after saying this? No, I can't agree with that. Kumar Hatcho, you're asking the same question 25 times, and I've already answered it 25 times. Why is they not playing series in Australia against? I don't know, and they should, but they don't. Bangladesh play normally in our winter in Australia. PCB should take responsibility for the boring test match. No, it wasn't. See, I disagree vehemently with it being called a boring test match. This was not a boring test match. This was a war of attrition, and Pakistan batted infinitely better than Australia. Australia got 459, but we lost all 10 wickets. Pakistan got 4 centuries. They were magnificent. Our bowling was very ordinary. It was. It really showed our bowling up, actually. There's Warner a home backtrack bully. He plays well at home, yes, but he's not that good at way, is he? They should have put Zampa in before Swepson. Robert M., I totally and utterly agree. Zampa's my second best spinner in Australia by far, and should take over the mantle of Lyon as the best spinner. Swepson, you watch, he won't play well. I think he's severely overrated. He's had stress fractures of his neck which is very worrying. Agar's very commendable as a second bowler, yes, and he can bat very well too. So there's benefit there. And it could well be that Cameron Green moves aside for Agar. Why have we got Cameron Green this life? He's rarely bowling. I don't know. And in terms of Stark and Hazel bowling very little in this innings, that was not good. Cummins is captain when he's in the side. We know that. So that's definitive. So I'm a little bit scathing. So they've got the same attack of Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, and Lyon for some time now. Even back against India and the Gabba a year or so ago, when Australia got summarily smacked by a second-rate India inside. Same bowling attack yet again. Same bowling attack today. Very ineffective. Then we started to bring on Travis Head, who, okay, this would be my lineup. This is what I would do. And I'm not saying they're going to do this, but this is what I would do. For the Australian lineup, I would have the openers, of course, Warner and Khawaja would stay, Labuschagne Smith. I would drop Head. I would put Cameron Green one up, and I would put Ashton Agar in. Okay? Not losing anything batting-wise with putting him in. Travis, they got 8 in this match. Cameron has got 48. Cameron Green got 48. So that's what I would have. Khawaja, Warner, Labuschagne Smith, Cameron Green at 5. 6, I'd have Ashton Agar. 7, Alex Carey, or at least he's the keeper, as we know. Then your 4 bowlers, I have Boland in. I'd drop Stark. I'd probably keep Hazelwood, and I would put Cummins with Lyon. So I would drop, put Agar in for Head, bowl Cameron Green more, and have Boland in there because of his way he's bowling of late's been very good, and I'd drop Stark. That would be my side. What do you think of that? Karachi test will be important for both teams, no doubt. But Pakistan are in the ascendancy. They have just summarily smacked Australia, even though it was a so-called draw. As I said, there were 4 wickets for 728. 4 wickets. Whereas Australia were all 10 wickets, falling at 459. Probably would have fallen a lot today too. Norman bowled very well. Shane Freddie looked very good this morning. He took the last 2 wickets. Don't forget, Australia did. What was the score this morning? Australia had to finish with 3 wickets. Shaheen Afridi was very good this morning. No one took 2 wickets. So explain that to me. We took 3 wickets in the morning session. Shaheen bowled very well and 2 good deliveries from Norman. Yet the rest of the day, not a wicket to be found.
Good evening, Norman.
How are you, Mawson?
Good, mate. Good. And yourself?
Very well. I've already started. I've been well and truly into it. I started a bit earlier because I tried to, when the game finished, I tried to start immediately.
Yeah, no,
you know, I tell you what, people are saying, oh, they should be complaining about the pitch, blah, blah, blah. This was a great test match. I reckon it was a great test match.
I think it was. It's the test of character, who can bat, and the test of character from bowling's perspective, whether we can hold our nerves to be able to get wickets on a situation where pitch is not supporting, bowling in channels, building pressure. So this is, you know, a lot of people have been saying, oh, it's dead pitch and no result and whatnot. But Test cricket is all about results, yes, but in saying that, Test cricket is all about character. Test cricket is all about trying to wear the opposition down, and that's what Pakistan did in this Test match.
It's quite incredible because how could we say that it was too much of a road when 3 wickets fell very quickly this morning? Shaheen bowled well. Neumann took 2 wickets in the morning, and then we didn't see a wicket the rest of the day. That's not exactly. On the 5th day of a Test match, and they got none for 2. So that's pretty poor bowling from Australia. And I was talking earlier about Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins bowled some 14, 15 overs between them out of 77.
That's
so
right.
60 of the bowled by the bowlers.
And that was one of the things. Perfect opportunity to get Cam Green into the rhythm of bowling in subcontinent. He only bowled a handful of overs. So, you know, if you're trying to preserve your premium bowlers at the top, then that would have been an opportunity to get a long couple of spells out of Cam Green. He should have bowled 15, 16 overs today. he only bowled what 6 or 7 overs. You know, it's not good enough. You can't just keep bowling part-timers and expecting the test to be called off at half an hour before the scheduled finish. You still got to get the best practice out of your fifth bowler, which Cam Green was. So you had to get him in the game. You had to get him bowling more and more overs so he get used to it if he wants to play next test match, which is highly unlikely. One of the bowlers is going to drop to accommodate another spinner, and I don't know if Cam Green is one of the guys who's going to make way for another spinner.
I think Australia switched off completely in that second innings. I'm sorry, they're leading bowlers. The leading 3 bowled 15 overs. Travis Head was on way too much. Labuschagne really fancies himself. Smith was on a bit. I mean, obviously Lyon was there, and they brought Khawaja at the end. Look, I'm sorry. That's something. It's almost like they gave up.
That's right.
They thought it was a dud. That was really wrong. Psychologically, Pakistan have got a very big confidence boosting day. Imam Al Haq's unstoppable now. Shafiq's unstoppable. I mean, they've got a whoppingly good opening partnership.
That's right. I mean, the pleasing thing for me was Numan Ali. He got 6 for. You know, where no bowler actually got wickets, he got 6 for. Regardless of what you talk about, pitch being flat and whatnot, and he bowled leg stump line and everything. But at the end of the day, you look at his numbers. He's the guy who's got 6 wickets on a pitch that didn't support too much for the quicks or spinners. He bowled with discipline. He bowled one side of the pitch, frustrated the batters, and induced a false shot. Uzi didn't have to play reverse sweep at him. Smith didn't have to sweep. But, you know, it was built up because he bowled tight areas. He induced pressure and induced a false shot. So hats off to him. I was very pleased that he got 6 for. And the other thing that you touched on earlier, the 3 for 10 this morning, it means that there was you know, if you bowl in the right area, you still get wickets. But unfortunately, for Australian bowling attack, they did not get anything out of second innings. Batting wise, Pakistan got all the practice they needed. Both batters batted really with command. They did not look like getting out. And hats off to Imam as well for getting his second 100. So he's now become the 10th Pakistani batter to got 102 innings.
Fantastic. So many confidence-boosting aspects. Shafiq now and Imam Al Haq are unstoppable. You've got Asar Ali, who's batting fantastically. That's Australia, okay. Khawaja certainly did very well. Warner was rusty at best. I don't think he was necessarily on top of his game. And, you know, I think that Australia really needs to be aware that they shouldn't have underplayed that second innings at all. They switched off. Hello, Brahman. How are you?
I'm fine, Norman. How about you? Hi, Mohsin.
Hi, Brahman. How are you?
Fine.
You guys are very dark backgrounds. It looks like it's. Have you got your lights on? You're up. Brahman, what are you in bed or something? Are you got a cup of tea in bed or something?
Yeah, I'm in bed, cup of tea or something.
You haven't gone to Thailand, have you, and gone over where Shane Warne is?
No, not there. But I have friends. I have very close friends in Koh Samui, so got some information from there. So
yeah,
anyway.
Oh, look, there were some comments earlier that maybe this affected the Australian players. It probably did. Let's be honest. Having Marsh and Warne pass like that would have been pretty hard. No doubt. Okay. There was some comments here about Paul Newman, but the situation with Cummins only bowling 4 overs. I don't think Hazelwood, Cummins, and Stark are injured and just bowled less, thinking they're going to keep themselves in the second match. Australia had the same bowling lineup that they had when India beat them very convincingly at the Gabba. The same bowling lineup. Something's a little bit in Australia, like they generally do okay. They did okay with the Ashes, but we've got to stop relying on those being our core bowlers. We've got to look for horses for courses. And I just want to give you my test selection for the next match. I'm not sure whether you heard me say it earlier on. I'm actually thoughts are. Sorry, did you hear?
You're talking about the Australia-Pakistan series.
Yes.
But why are we reviewing a warm-up match? I don't understand, Norman.
Good call.
It wasn't a warm-up match. It was a real test. What are you talking about? It should have been a warm-up match. Okay. In my opinion, Travis Head should be dropped. because his bowling is substandard and his batting was pretty ordinary this match. So why have we got him in the team? Why I say that? Because we can't afford to drop Cameron Green, although he didn't bowl much at all again. I would actually consider Cameron Green going one up in the order, being more of a batting all-rounder, and still having him bowl. I'd still have Khawaja and Warner with Labuschagne Smith, but I'd have Green at 5, drop Travis Head, put in Agar at 6, as he has now become an all-rounder, and he can bat. We know he can bat. Then Carey, Stark should be dropped. Boland in. I'd keep Hazelwood with Lyon and Cummins. I believe that's what they should do. If they're going to think Travis Head's their bowler and he performed atrociously, well then, and he's bowled in the first innings on the 18th over, the second and 50th, well then get rid of him. I'm sorry. I don't care if he scored centuries.
Interesting call. I don't know what Bron think, but I think they're going to give Heads another go. My thinking is they'll go with another spinner at cost of whether they'll drop an all-rounder or whether they'll drop Stark. Because Hazelwood was still in patches look good, but again, the Karachi pitch traditionally is a spinner's track. Whether they'll go with Heads being dropped and have 2 all-rounders in the middle. They were talking about Marsh as well, so remember Marsh is still on tour as well. Whether they'll go with him as a batting at 6 instead of Heads, that could be another option. But definitely they'll have to go with 2 spinners. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, but do you understand my thoughts on Travis? I'll get your opinion too. Travis Head, I know he scored centuries in Australia, but he's one of these players that drops off for a number. He does something pretty good when he has to, because he got dropped. Don't forget, he was dropped a season or so ago for similar indifferent form. Then he got upset with that and came back with a fire in his belly, scored a century, and again another century, which was impressive. But then he switches off, and his performance in this match was substandard. His bowling was atrocious, and his batting was also substandard. So what is his role? Then I would think about replacing him.
See, I will look at this match in a different way, Norman. Like I have 2 theories in this match. One is that Pakistan batters did bat really well, and compared to the Australian batsmen in terms of they were valuing the wicket more. Yes, in the first innings they played slowly, but they were valuing the wicket more. Whereas I saw the Australian batsmen, they were like, except for if I say Warner, everybody else just got out. Like how many? I think 3 or 4 people got out reverse sweeping, which I found it ridiculous. So they were not valuing their wicket, or what, they got bored, or they were just throwing it away. So that's one folly. So I would not particularly put blame on Travis Head over there. And second, I would also look at the bowling wise. I would say that the pace, Shaheen and Nawaz, right? If I'm not wrong. Naseem, they bowled far better with a more strategy and application than compared to the Australian bowlers. And why I would say that, see, one is okay, the pitch was flat. But in Test cricket, you also take wickets by, strategy, or by, putting up. It's like a chess game, like how you. But I did not see that that from Australia, given the fact that they bowled like 240 overs, gave 740 runs, and took, if you remove that run out, they just took 3 wickets. So a team that has bowled 240 overs and is able to take just 3 wickets in bowling, I think there's something something is incorrect over there. Vis-a-vis, if you look at Pakistan, yes, Norman took 6 wickets over there, but if you see those wickets, they were like, some of them were actually strategy kind of wickets where they frustrated the batsmen and made them get out. And if you see on the Australia side, that did not happen. So coming back to your original question of Travis Head, I would not put that much on this match so much. In fact, bowling wise, I would say Mitchell Stark would have been, but still, I would play the same team for the next match. And if Australia lose that match, I would then maybe go for Bolan
Second spinner.
or someone else.
So
I
you
agree with you,
they keep the
Ron.
same side.
I would say keep the same side. Maybe change Mitchell Stark for Bolan, because what I understand, Bolan is very good at bowling on flat pitches. But this is again, we are making an assumption that the pitch will be similar to Rawalpindi. Next match is in Karachi, right? So we're making an assumption that the pitch will be same. But if I'm not wrong, Karachi right now the climate would be much hotter and humid compared to Rawalpindi, given the geographic location.
That's
So
true. Coastal city would be humid, and days would be longer, and it would be a little hotter.
so even if it's the same pitch, definitely it will deteriorate far more than like this pitch barely deteriorated. I don't think. In fact, I would say the fifth day pitch was better than the first day pitch,
Exactly,
and the
exactly.
first day pitch was actually better. So looking at that overall, I'll still keep the team same for on Australian perspective. But definitely, if I was Cummins, the captain and the coach, I would really look at strategy in terms of getting wickets and how you trap the batsman or how you frustrate and get the wickets. Because
Exactly.
that I did not see. I did not see that at all.
I 100% agree, and I said that to Norman earlier on. The guys didn't look like bowling with intention or purpose. First session, first day, they bowled a bit too wide. Did not attack the stump. There was about 20% deliveries hitting the stumps. But then second session, they came on with the short ball theory, and they just keep banging the ball short and did not attack. And by the time the third session came in, they started to attack, make the batters play. So the strategy, I 100% agree with you that did not look like they had that down pack for the first day, and then from then on it just kept on following, and it didn't look like they were going to get any wickets. Like the guys who got out, Shafiq got out to a poor shot, and then the other two were probably taken and run out in it. So 3 wickets for 700 runs. It's something is not right in the bowling planning side of things. So they got to review that. They got to look at that. The way Shaheen bowled, he attacked the stumps quite a lot, and then odd one went away. And then I think I would probably agree that I wouldn't do too much changes in terms of selection, but I would definitely review how you take the game away.
So I just want to take it back to the second innings, okay? It was bad enough in the first innings, only 4 wickets falling. But okay, that happened. Australia's application this afternoon was disgraceful. I really think they bowled poorly. The attitude wasn't there. They looked despondent. There was a few fielding mishaps. They made wrong calls on DRS decisions, which was a bit unusual. I don't think they were switched on at all. Now, I don't care if it was going to be a draw or not. You don't switch off in a test match. Shane Warne will be the first person to tell you, you never know what's going to happen in a test match, or a Michael Hussey, or even a Simon Caddis. They appeared to me to switch off. I really think that. I mean, Labuschagne fancies his bowling and the like, but that was more. They shouldn't be bowling at all, in my opinion.
I have a feeling after the first spell from each bowlers, they thought, the result is not going to be there. So why tire their premium bowlers? And that's where it just went like, just part timers and biding the time rather than just having an effort into getting any wickets. So it was then a drag pretty much. Last few hours was just a drag where you see.
Yeah, I would say the last 2 sessions, in fact, like if you go to see, except for Warner and Alex Carey, everybody had a bowl. Maybe Norman, if you were in Rawalpindi, maybe you would have got a over or 2 also.
Well, I would have taken wickets, so that's the difference. I mean, I'm a wicket taker, so
I would have taken a hat trick for sure.
In my vortex, they call a stomach. I've got a great catch. In fact, there's a great report on my YouTube channel. Okay.
Yeah, I heard you caught the ball with your belly button.
That's right. My belly button opened up like a vortex and swallowed it. We never found that ball again. In fact, it may have come out. I might have passed it when I went to the toilet, I think. I did feel a certain 6-stitch cause some aggravation, but I won't go into that.
The black hole. Normal hole.
I had to do a googly. But anyway,
Okay.
Okay, now I'm disappointed. I think Australia were pathetic. Their batting was good. Of course, it was a flat track. They should have gotten runs. We expected that. Other than Khawaja and to an extent Labuschagne, they were the ones that were impressive. Cameron Green wasn't bad. I thought Warner and Smith weren't at their best either. But this bloody sweep shot, did you see him, Samal Huck, play those sweep shots? No. How many runs did he get? 157 and 111 not out. Oh, you know what? The one shot that really worries me is, and I'm not happy with Alex Carey, this reverse sweep on the first delivery or something. No, that's not test batting. It's not test batting. I'm not impressed by that.
I think they were thinking to counter the spin with reverse. That was their method, and everyone looked like reversing, but the ball wasn't turning that sharply or quickly to be able to go reverse. You could handle the spin because it was slow off the deck. There was no sharp turns that you really needed to play reverse sweep, but that's the method they adopted, and everyone played. I was surprised that everyone who came out played a reverse sweep.
I mean, again, I'll go back to the Pakistani batsman. Azhar Ali hit this magnificent, it's a slog sweep, but it was totally and utterly within his range. He hit the ball where there was a gap and he hit it for 6. The shots that, I mean, Alex Carey's first shot was a reverse sweep and it went away for a single. You don't do that. The discipline of Shafiq and Imam Al-Haq was magnificent. They were streets ahead. Only Khawaja matched them in his technique. I think really those two were superb. And Australia had no answer. Honestly, they had no answer. Lyon worries me a little bit. He took 1 wicket in the test match. He bowled 100,000 overs. You know, and he had a few decisions go against him. A bit worried about Nathan Lyon as well. There was too much reliance on him, too much expectation.
Well, that's another interesting one for you. Would you drop Nathan Lyon next game? He has subcontinent. He hasn't been that successful, especially against India and Pakistan. He hasn't been successful in subcontinent. I mean, he's been successful in Australia against teams like South Africa and England. Even India series last year, he wasn't that successful. So whether he's your answer, just being devil's advocate.
Look, I'm not a big Travis Head fan. I'm really sorry. I know he got centuries in Australia, and not one that he blew us all away. It was because he was dropped and he was wounded, and he came back wounded. But he notoriously has a string of matches where he doesn't do well. And even the way he got 8, he hit 2 quick 4s and then got out. That's I'm just not happy with it. If they're going to go with him, he shouldn't be bowling for 1. And if he's going to be a batting all-rounder or whatever he wants to call himself with his bowling, well, then he has to compete with Cameron Green and Agar. And I would think Green and Agar are better than Travis Head. So one of the 3 has to go. I think Travis Head needs to go. Because if they put in Agar and Boland, they've got to get rid of 2 paces, as in Stark and maybe Cummins. Stark and Hazelwood. And they're not going to do that. Cameron Green deserves to stay there because of his batting, if nothing else. The one that still should go is Head. That's my thoughts.
Fair enough.
But Paul Nim was saying Head is better than Harris. Well, you bloody well hope so. Harris hasn't scored a century, so I'll be giving up on him as well. I just don't think they're getting it right. Cummins' captaincy was sharp today. I thought today I would have expected them to take a few wickets, not because it's the 5th day of a test, and Pakistan may have not been on the ball, but Pakistan went out there and said, we're not going to lose a wicket here, and we're going to mentally disintegrate Australia. And they have won this test, even though it's a draw, they've won it, in my opinion. I'm not happy. Pakistan should be rejoicing.
That's going a little overboard. Definitely, I would say Pakistan took a lot more than compared to Australia. But saying that there was a vast difference, maybe. See, I would put it this way: like if Pakistan had shown a similar intent, the one big mistake or folly that Pakistan did was the the first innings they played it too slow. Like if you're finishing playing for 2 full days, I would expect a team to be anywhere 650 plus if you are going to bat for 2 full days. And they were able to do only 470, 476 in the first inning. So they were, if you ask me, almost 170, 80 runs short, given the run rate that they were going for, and given that the wickets that they had. So that was a big mistake made by them, and that I would say, like, to a point, then went into the like Australia also said that if you ask me, like, at the end of third day, it 95% it looked like a draw, Norman. End of when the third day was over.
I don't think if Pakistan would have batted fast or slow, the result wouldn't necessarily have changed. I think Pakistan understood that they needed to get a solid, big opening effort, and they did do that. Okay, and again, only 4 wickets were taken. 4 for 700 runs is a major advantage to one side. Even though there wasn't a victory, I'll grant that. But I think, considering the context of the series, and they would have had their minds still on that as well, not just the first game, I think Pakistan played it pretty much to the right mark. Maybe a bit slow, but that didn't cost them the match. They showed to me, they've given Shafiq, Imam al-Haq their first centuries, by the way. Don't forget. Shafiq's never scored a century. Imam al-Haq hasn't either. So they've scored 3 centuries. 2 debutants, sorry, not debutants, but century-less players have scored centuries, and not one single Australian batter scored a century. That speaks volumes. I'm sorry.
But one more big factor here, Norman, is like, the last comment over here is something I would also agree to, that nowhere did I see any intent to win from Pakistan side in the last 2 days. That intent to win was highly missing. Like, are you playing a test match for, like, in the end, not even for a draw? It looked like the test match was just for individual scores, or just raking up the numbers. Like, it was not even a exciting draw, or I would say it was not even a dull draw. Well, it was far more than a dull draw. Like, it was, like I said, even practice matches are played, or warm-up matches are played in a better way than this match.
Yeah, I agree. It just looked very tame draw, and I think the approach Pakistan had was defense first to save them. They didn't want to. It didn't look like they wanted to take that win factor or risk to take the win. So their first approach, safety first, and that's probably killed the game after the end of day 3, because what happened in first 2 days, scoring rate was predominantly around 3s. There are times when they could have gone a little bit harder, but it didn't happen. Even Rizwan, when he came in, he tried to go hard, but he couldn't. So I think the test match was dead and buried after day 3.
Munshi summed it up here. This is exactly the intent of the Pakistani team, was to push Australia into the ground and wear them out for the later matches.
But I would say they failed here. They failed here because if you see in the second innings, all the bowling was done by Labuschagne and Head, and and if you see the main, like, Cummins bowled just 4 overs. So and if you see overall wise, the first innings and second innings, both Pakistan and Australia roughly bowled the same overs. I mean, the pacers were equally.
Australia's resting bowlers who are meant to be the mainline bowlers. What on earth are you doing? You don't just say, okay, we're going to draw this match, I'm not bowling my best bowlers. That's not the attitude of a winning Australian side. So that even only reinforces my criticism of Australia. I don't think I've ever seen the Australian side rest all their top bowlers in the first test match of a series, even if they may be a draw. Have you ever seen that before? I haven't.
I'll put it this way, Norman. See, like, today morning, let's say if they were able to take 2 or 3 early wickets, then yes, continue with your. But the whole first session, they bowled. So Cummins, Hazelwood, and they were bowling in. But when they saw nothing is happening, I would, if I was the captain, I would have also done the same thing. Like, makes no sense if my fast bowlers are bowling.
Pakistan did the
I agree. The
night,
reason
they still had the attitude. Look at this morning. They took 3 wickets this morning. Pakistan bowled very well. The wicket that Shaheen was a really good delivery, and Norman got 6 wickets. I don't know.
Nauman, not Norman.
Your namesake.
I mean, if I look, I think it's Debashis Mohanty says I've been too criticising. The standard of Australian cricket, and most of you should agree with this, is very high, and it was well below their best. There's no doubt.
Yeah, but Norman, just to correct you, Nauman got 6 wickets, not Norman.
Well, I'm calling him Norman because I like Norman because that's my name.
No, because if Norman would have been bowling, he would have got all 10 wickets. So
Norman would have got all 10.
Norman's a champion. Norman was a great bowler. Norman. Pauline was saying Norman is very cranky. No, I'm just frustrated because people saying, "Oh, it's the pitch. Pakistan batters slowly." No, they've played very, very well this Test match. You cannot knock Pakistan's performance. They lost 4 wickets for 700 runs. My God, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's a staggering fact which really goes against Australia. And as I mentioned, like if you're not able to take wickets by really good balls, you can definitely take them by strategy, which that was missing.
Yeah.
I just don't think.
Whether the death of 2 legends affected the team, do you reckon?
Yeah.
I think
Pakistan are in a great place. I couldn't believe Shafiq was there being interviewed. He looked like he didn't even bat. His pads were off. He's changed his gear. He must have went whoomp like that in 2 seconds. He took all his gear off and put his kit on. Look, I think they were very impressive. I thought the 2 openers today were brilliant. 252 for no wicket on the 5th day after 3 wickets fell very quickly in the morning. I'm very impressed with these openers, I'll tell you. And Azhar Ali, not even you. And the intriguing thing was Babar Azam never put his pads on once the whole day. And he was before the batting order.
That shows the confidence. He didn't even change into whites.
No, I think Fawad Alam was wearing the pad, so they were planning since I think Fawad Alam did not got batting in the first innings. If a wicket would have been fallen, I think Fawad Alam was the person supposed to come in.
Yeah.
Maybe, but still, the captain of the side who bats number 4 normally not being padded up is rather unusual.
Not maybe. Norman, I'm telling you a fact. Fawad Alam was ready, he was padded up to come out.
Yeah,
it's not maybe. It's a fact.
They were talking about him getting a hit as well ahead of even Azhar. So he would have.
Anyway, Pakistan have the ascendancy. They won the draw if such a thing exists. They've got the confidence to boosting from this. They were impressive. And I do like.
I would actually look at it in a different way, Norman. I would say that the first match of a series is when a team from outside comes. That's the best time for a home team to win because it's the time required for acclimatization. It's the time required for see the bowling, to see the batting. So now the Australian team would have got a lot of data points to work on, so they can build up their strategy. If I look on a Pakistan's perspective, or as a third, I would say Pakistan lost the opportunity. They should have actually looked at getting a win over here.
I think so. I think
I get your point, but I still think that there's enough.
Getting a draw for Australia on the first match is very good.
It's not a bad result. The other thing that they missed the beat with, they normally have a bit of a grass on this pitch for the ball to seam around. Pakistani bowlers would have actually benefited with the grass on because it would have helped the spinners because they both are skiddy kind of spinners. They're not traditionally flighting kind of bowlers. So that's why I tend to agree. The first game of the tour is the surprise package for the touring team because they're in the country for a short period of time. There's no practice matches before the Test match. They're not really ready to play Test cricket first up in like 2 or 3 days. And they were thrown into a Test match. So, yeah, I think Pakistan missed the beat there.
Yeah.
By the time Karachi comes, Australia would be.
We'll just see. We'll see.
Yep, fair enough.
Okay, what are you saying for the next Test? Because it's only 3 days away. Are they going to? What are you? I mean, Pakistan may bring in Hassan Ali and even Harris Ralph. That's pretty.
This series, Norman, this series is only in test matches, or is there a ODI and
No,
three
T20?
ODIs and T20 following
ODI.
all in RAWALPINDI.
It's a full series.
Pardon?
But the Australian players are leaving. They're off to the IPL. They're not even staying for that series. And Glenn Maxwell, who normally would play, is off getting married.
Yeah. So it's a full series. It's got 3 test matches, 1 day, and 1 T20 as well.
Yeah.
Okay. How many ODIs? One ODI, one T20.
No, 3 ODIs, 1 T20. But you know what's
Shouldn't
really
we have
hard?
more T20s given the T20 World Cup later this year?
They
Well,
should
that's
have
true. They'll get plenty of practice. Don't worry. They'll have plenty of games before that starts. But the difficult thing will be when the actual Warren funeral and Marsh funeral's on, because that's in Australia, of course. And there'll be a lot of people in the squad that would know them very well. And that's going to be a little bit hard.
And when is Shane Warne's funeral?
Well, he's being expatriated, or whatever the term is, back to Australia, repatriated, in the next 48 hours, because the autopsy's done. So he'll probably be back in Melbourne, probably on, I guess, Thursday or Friday. So I can't see the funeral happening any time before early next week.
Early next week, I think.
Yeah. But that's the state funeral. There'll be a private service probably that may well happen before.
State funeral means what? Like the army will be involved, or like?
What do you mean?
No, by state funeral, what exactly happens? Like?
Well, the state government puts it on, so it's more expense taken. They'll have a crowd. They'll have an audience. It'll be held at a major location. In this case, probably the MCG. They're expecting to have 100,000 people at the MCG for his funeral, for his state service. They'll have a street parade. They'll have a lot more paraphernalia that goes on. It'll be into the millions probably in terms of cost, but the government takes the cost.
It's like a head of state passing away. So
exactly.
No, but is the army involved? Will there be like a gun salute or something like that? That's what I'm asking.
Could be.
There'll be salute and there'll be parade. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, the Great Southern Stand will be renamed the SK Warren Stand. I'm sure they're going to do that on the day of the funeral. I'm assuming to make it ceremonial.
I'm pretty sure media will cover it for the wider audience who cannot attend. I hope it is free to air.
Honestly, Norman, this is still a shock. I mean, it's hard to believe that Shane Warne is no more. Still, like even I think one month from now, it will be something very hard to digest.
Exactly. Yeah. Very heart-touching statements from the children. Warnie's daughter and son spoken, and it is very moving statements from both of them.
Yeah, there are more deaths to come, I'm afraid to say, because there are quite a few notable players that are ailing. Neil Harvey certainly is, Bobby Simpson, and there's a lot more players that are in that mode. And look, we've just had Dean Jones, Warne, and Rod Marsh. Nobody thought any of them would die. The one that's, Michael Clark's pretty affected because he was very close to Phil Hughes as well. But the one that I think Ricky Ponning's also very upset. But the one that really concerns me is Alan Border. He was very close to Dean Jones, and likewise with Warne and even Marsh. And he keeps talking about his own mortality. Not that there's anything wrong with him, but it would affect you, wouldn't it? I mean, I had Alan Mullally on earlier on the pre-show, and he is 2 months younger than Warne, and they know each other from back 30 odd years at Hampshire. And Alan Mullally was also looking at his own mortality, having seen someone the same age as him passing. Suddenly, he's quite worried, and I get that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Have they announced when Rod Marsh's funeral is?
Rod Marsh's what?
His funeral?
Well, that should be a state funeral as well, but probably in WA. That's where he's originally from. Yeah. But there's been no discussion of that. In fact, the whole Rod Marsh hasn't. There's been nothing talked about Rod Marsh's funeral at all.
By Shane Warne.
I think it got overshadowed by Shane Warne.
Oh yeah. Well, within an hour. I mean, as we know, Shane Warne tweeted.
That's right.
An hour or two later, he died.
He passed away. Yeah.
Watching Australia versus Pakistan.
Exactly right.
with 5 masseuses in his room. No, that's not true.
No, that's not true.
The Shane, I saw his last almost an hour YouTube podcast where he was very upset with the way Justin Langer was removed, or the way he was,
Right.
not treated with respect, or
That's right.
he
Langer,
spoke really well for Justin Langer.
yeah, Langer's come out.
He's a very
and
active
nice as well.
social media person. He's also very active texting people and talking to people. He was talking to Glenn McGrath only that same morning. Glenn McGrath and he had a long, almost hour-long conversation in the morning. Glenn McGrath talked about, and they talked about because there was a story, Australia story, that was done on Shane Warne only last week. It's almost like he knew something was happening. He did a hell of a lot of stories about himself of late.
Yeah, exactly.
Oxford did one. Show story. Maybe we don't know all. Maybe we don't. Maybe he had a bigger heart complaint that we all knew, because he had been to a doctor in Australia, and it looked as though that 3 months to a year he was going off because he knew he had something wrong with him. Maybe he knew his death was pending.
Yeah. Look, hindsight is a big thing, but God knows what he was going through.
Dean Jones as well. He knew he had a heart.
Where was Rod Marsh from? He's from Perth, right?
Originally from, yes.
Rod Marsh, which city?
Perth.
Okay.
He didn't really play.
Adelaide. He spent a lot of time in Adelaide when he was academy in charge, and then in Brisbane as well. So yeah, a lot of players, even younger lot, that are coming through, not only Australia, in England as well, because he went to England and set a similar setup, academy setup in England, and so a lot of young guys come through his system, and then he was once a selector for England as well.
Yeah. I'm not wanting to go to bed these days because I'm fearing waking up and something else is passing away. It's a bit like that, isn't it? It's a bit of a shock when these things happen.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rod was in Bundy for a Bulls Master tour, even though he hasn't played for Queensland Bulls. But Queensland Bulls have got this Masters team. All the ex-Queensland players, they go to regional sites, and then they do a talent hunt and play a exhibition game and do some coaching and everything. So Rod was on one of those tours. So he joined the team as he landed at the airport, and he felt the pain and he had the heart attack. So they took him to hospital, and then he went into coma. So they flew his family to Bundy as well, and then just didn't survive from there on.
But what he lives in, but let's just take a step back. I was in Bundaberg when this all happened, but he wasn't living in Queensland. He lives in WA still, isn't he?
He was in Queensland. So that's why he went on, because Jimmy Marr is the person who organised all the Bulls Master. So Marvo just had him. So he actually, Casper was telling the story on TV. He actually did ask to be on the tour because there was a lot of golf and catching up involved. So he said that he will come and join with the Bulls Master. So he then flew to Bundy, and and unfortunately it's just ended up being his last trip, because as soon as post airport he had the heart attack, and never survived.
But Rod Marsh was 74. By no means am I saying that's the end of a life, but that's almost a fair age. It's kind of getting to the point where things happen. But 52
close to a Diamond Jubilee.
but yeah, Warne 52, and even Dean Jones 58 or whatever he was, 59. Too young. You should not be dying under 60. No way. You shouldn't be dying under. Well, I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect age, but you die when you're meant to die. But you would expect to live beyond 65, 70.
Yeah, but that's why everyone say that he is he's lived the life of 100-year-old man. He was full of life. He lived and he touched so many hearts. Regardless of where you're from, even in America where cricket is not followed, but he was Hollywood there. He's when he signed his first Nike contract, he was rubbing shoulders with all these basketball players and Michael Jordan, and all of a sudden he was the icon for Nike. So in America where there's no cricket, he was a big superstar there as well. So he's definitely
certainly had a character for it.
Yeah.
I mean, England, he was huge, as we know. I mean,
Exactly.
Norman, Mohsen, I'll take a leave. It's my dinner time. So
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Baram.
Pleasure.
thank you, Norman. Thank you, Mohsen. Thanks to everyone. Thanks, Manchi.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, it's interesting how Baram takes a different perspective to me about all this.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear different perspectives.
But I don't want to hear. It happens typically with Indian audiences and Pakistani audiences. They look for real problems, like they make the pitch the issue. They make they turn on the slowness of the batting. Pakistan played well. I'm sorry, they played really
and
well.
it's not just Indian and Pakistani. A lot of Pakistani ex-players have tweeted. Have you seen Mohammad Hafiz have come out and said, look, this is not the greatest exhibition of Test match cricket. You got to play result-oriented pitches and that type of stuff. So he's come out and supported that the cricket pitch should have been more supportive and that type of stuff. Muhammad Amir has come out as well saying similar sort of stuff. He's saying that the pitch, these kind of pitches are not supportive of the bowlers, where bowlers have got nothing. And a couple of other older players have come out and said similar thing in Pakistan as well. So I think it's a mixed feeling, mixed bag. And everyone's I respect everyone's opinion. Everyone has got different perspectives. So for me, it is obviously people have a different view on different things. Obviously, you have a perception that it's a traditional batting pitch, so it's old school batting. So I've got no issues, but part of me is still saying that they still missed a beat. First test at home, when the opposition is not really ready to take you on, you should prepare a pitch that is result oriented. But a lot to take from this test for Pakistan, not so much for Australia. But I think I'm looking forward to second test match.
But in my opinion, it's a win-win for everybody. We're playing in Pakistan. Pakistan got to play at home. The crowds came back. The young kids, they had a lot of young school kids there, which I thought was brilliant. Girls, and I was quite impressed, a lot of girls as well as boys.
Absolutely.
Women's cricket, Australia played Pakistan today, even though Australia won. Pakistan are commendable. They've got real talent in their ranks.
What a story from ladies' game today. Bisma Maroof gave birth, and she's traveling with her 6-month-old daughter, and she's had a year off from cricket on maternity leave, and she scored 78 today. What a story!
It was great.
And for a Pakistan cricket board, I would say it is really good for them to actually start the maternity leave option in Pakistan. And scoring a 78 on a Women's Day, it just pops everything up. So excellent for women's cricket. Really good to see her come back and score runs. And how good were the post-game India-Pakistan when all the ladies from Indian team were in Pakistan change room and having a bit of a selfie and a mother moment with Bisma and her daughter. So I don't know if your audience had a chance to look at it. It was just amazing to see how the women's cricket have come so far from where it was 10 years ago, probably.
Okay, so who would be in your 11?
For Australia, I would have just one change. I would bring another spinner in. Whether I would drop Stark or if Hazelwood is fit, I'm not sure. He hasn't played. Remember, he hasn't played last 3 Test matches here in Australia as well. If they were to protect him, they could actually rest him for Karachi Test. But I would definitely play 2 spinners, and I would keep Head. I would keep Head in batting order. So that's my change for Australia. In terms of Pakistan, I would bring Fahim Ashraf and I would bring back Hassan Ali. So
okay, what would who would? Okay, Hassan Ali would come back in. Would Harris Ralph go in?
I would probably not play Harris in Karachi. I would play in Lahore. Karachi, I would play. I don't know if they persist with Sajid as an off spinner. I would actually like to bring a leg spinner in, and they were talking about today Shadab as well. He's fit, he's back. I think he could be a very good option. He can bowl your leg spins and he can bat as well. Whether they would go with him or whether they persist with Sajid as a second spinner. But with him coming back into the team gives you the third seamer, and he can bat as well. So for me, that's the two changes I would have in Pakistan, and probably one forced change to bring a spinner in. I would like to have a spinner in Australian team. They're too fast. They're too heavy on quick side.
Now, Debasis Hunty's being cheeky with me. He says, I always criticise Australia. I don't understand why. Well, most Indians always criticise India, and most Pakistanis always criticise Pakistan. It's not unusual for you to be bagging your own country because you expect high levels of them. We're hearing that people saying Pakistan should have batted quicker and they should have played for a draw and pitch should have been different. Well, same thing. It's you could argue that I'm criticising Australia because I think they're a better side and they played poorly in this Test match. And you can't say, oh, they had no practice match. No, you're playing for your bloody country. Get your act together and play your best when you walk the field. You've got to cherish playing for your country. Yeah, and when you're on there, you don't think, oh, I'll just take it easy and relax for the next match. No, you play your guts out in that match right that moment. Yep. That's the difference. Don't you agree? To cherish the baggy green cap, like any cap. As soon as you're walking out there for 5 minutes, you should be on your game. You should be ready for it. Look at Shane Warne. He was pretty ordinary when he started, but he worked his butt off to get better and always took every game very seriously from the moment it started to the moment it ended. That's why he was a champion. You can't say, oh, look, this is a practice match. Oh, we're just getting used to this. No, you're playing for your country. You should be playing out of your skin.
True.
As Imam Al-Haq did it and Shafiq, they were battling. No stupid shots. They didn't get to 100 hitting a six. They hit singles. And then eventually, he did hit a loose shot. But, in general, it was different. Where's most? Everybody's asking where you're from.
Oh, I'm originally born in Pakistan, but I've been here living in Australia for the last 23 years. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah. When did you come to Australia again? How old were you?
I was 17. I came in 1993.
How long?
17.
Oh, okay. That's right. So your formative years were in Pakistan.
Sorry?
Your formative years were in Pakistan.
Yes.
They call the formative years like that period of like 8 to 15 or so.
Yeah. All my education and everything here. My kids are born here as well, so yeah.
Well, my formative years was behind a delicatessen, going into the cookie jar and the chocolate jar. Spent a lot of time there. Very formative years. Formed my whole eating habits. All
right, mate. I think I'll.
Thanks, Moses. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you
off. You were fantastic as always, and so was Baram. Well, wait for the next test.
It's always good to have that conversation. I'm looking forward to second test, both India and Sri Lanka, along with Pakistan and Australia. So look forward to more discussions.
Thanks, Moses.
Thanks, mate. Okay then. Bye.
Ciao. Again, it's having people like that who know their cricket, know the balanced arguments. Very, very good indeed. I am disappointed though with Australia. Yes, I'm a bit hard on the yes, Tabashis, you're right. But the point is that you've got to be critical of a team that should be better than that. They've got a better side. None for 252 on the fifth over Test match. Can't be good bowling. And losing and taking only 4 wickets in the whole series, one being a run out. That's not good. Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about a lot of people. So no, I'm pretty happy with the way the match went. I thought it was enthralling. I like watching it. I like seeing people get good centuries, especially Imam Al-Haq. He batted well both innings. So did Shafiq, and so did Azhar Ali. He batted fantastically, honestly. And you'd also think highly of people like Khawaja's batting, and certainly Labuschagne did well too. Can Australia take sweeps out with it into? No, I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think Australia's going to win or they should, the form we've seen so far, no, I would totally not see that happening. No way. All right, guys. So the test has been wrapped up now. It's officially a draw. Pakistan only lost 4 wickets for 720 odd runs. Australia's more like 459 with 10 wickets taken, Norman getting 6. And of course, the batting of Imam al-Haq gave the man of the match. You have to think very highly of Azhar Ali and also Shafiq's batting. They both batted well. That's all I needed, basically. Do you think Australia will come back stronger? They're gonna need to, because that wasn't good enough this test match. All right, guys. Please view, like, and share the posts. Subscribe. 95% of people who've been watching last week have not subscribed. Now that's not bad. I'm still happy they're watching, but just hit the subscribe button. It's not very intrusive to do that. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're a player on this pitch that he would have got his 71st season. Right, 140. I agree. He probably would have, but his luck hasn't been with him, has it, of late? So yeah, that's another question. His luck has not been with him at all. But you have to feel sorry for him in that regard, because normally he has more luck than that, and he hasn't had much luck. Let's be honest. It's that's luck does favour the brave. Don't they always say that? And if you're braver than that, you probably get more luck. Yeah. Thank you, Munchie. Just over an hour until Wendy's versus England. Yes, of course. Do you want to talk about Munchie? Do you want to come on? Munchie, do you want me to send you a link? And can you come on and talk about that? Are you there to talk about that? Give me a message and tell me. Matthew Wade is not playing test matches. No, that's true. Well, Alice Carey's a better keeper and is a test player. Well, Josh Ingles probably is better anyway, but Stokes, a home back track bully. No, he plays well all over the world, actually. No, by no means is he a home track bully, as he might call it. Munchie, you're not mentioning to him whether you're coming on or not, and I would fully expect you to come and talk about. Then you can get to sleep. Quick 10 minutes. Yes, Munchie, come on. I'll get you the link. Hang on. So let me. What's this? Okay. Let's try and find the link to this. I think that'll be a very important invite a guest. I'll send it to your Facebook, shall I, Munchie? Marcus. All right, I've sent it. Munchie, it's coming on your way to... if Carey flops again, I think English is replacing him. I agree with you, Barshas. So I've sent it to you. Munchie, check your Facebook, or you want me to send it to your WhatsApp? Are you ready on? Munchie, how are you?
Hey, Norman. How's everyone?
We're all good. We've all been waiting for your commentary. We've had good comments with Moses about Pakistan, and that was quite a enthralling, I think, a good draw. I think it was interesting. I thought it was good to see players get centuries. But let's have a quick chat about the West Indies and England. What's your thoughts there?
Well, I think my first thought will be, why the hell isn't Broad Anderson there? One of them.
Yeah.
I find it quite incredible that England failed miserably with the bat in the Ashes. So what do? They dropped the 2 bowlers. And now what's happened is that we've lost one of our bowlers. Ollie Robinson's gone down with a back complaint.
Oh, really?
So he's not playing in the first test. Now, I think we showed in Australia that he's a good little bowler, and it showed last summer. He's got that height, he's got a nagging line and length. I would love to see him really miss the whole of the Windies tour and spend that time conditioning. Because you looked at him, and okay, I'm a fine one to talk. But when I was bowling, I was trim, and you look at the Aussie bowler, someone like Hazelwood. That there's nothing really flapping underneath the shirt. Whereas Robinson, you could see there's a moob or a bit of a belly. He really gets some conditioning, gets some strength work done, especially around the core, and he could be a brilliant bowler. But he was just during the Ashes, the first spell would be 129, 130, and then he would drop off. And if you're going to be a Test match bowler, you need to be able to do 2, 3, 4 spells each at the same level. And so I'd like to see him really, certainly around his core work, a lot of Pilates, something like that, and then come back fitter and stronger, because I know he could be an excellent bowler. Chris knows him pretty well, Chris Vernon. But Robinson, he's got that height. He can bring it down, bowling that heavy ball, so it's hitting the batsman high on the bat, nagging length, a little bit of movement, and I think he could be a really good, potentially a great bowler for England, coming in with that seam. But he just needs to get himself fitter. So England are looking at you've got Mahood, you've got Wood, you've got Wokes coming in, possibly Craig Overton. So it's almost it's almost a second 11 of bowling. Whereas someone like Anderson and Broad, yes, they're getting on. Probably Broad is tailing off a little bit, but Anderson's still producing it. If anything, is getting better. He knows how to bowl in different conditions, and certainly Australia is always going to be tough for swing and seam bowlers. But you look at his performances; he was still right up there. So I don't know why they weren't picked. Whether it's some sort of internal strife or they just wanted to take other bowlers at the West Indies and see what happens, but I found it very disappointing, that decision.
Now, Lees is going to open with Crawley, correct?
Yep. Well, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens, but they had a reasonable warm-up game. I'd still go with Zach Crawley. I really like him as a bowler, as a batsman, sorry. He's very tall. He's got a nice, correct technique. And I think they should stick with him. Obviously, Root may come 3. There was some rumours about Root coming in 3. You've got Stokes. Bairstow scored a ton and was looking good. So I think the batting should be there. Just need to sort the openers out. Just get a good partnership going, get some confidence. But the middle order probably sorts itself out. Root, Bairstow, Stokes. Ben Folkes is keeping, which will be interesting. We've always liked Ben Folkes as a keeper.
At 4 though.
Lawrence may still come in as well. I don't know. The warm-up game is almost like a 12-13-a-side sort of game, and it'll depend on the conditions, because the warm-up game was at the Coolidge ground, which was the old ground that Alan Stanford built, which is right next door to Antigua Airport.
Well.
Yeah, I've known myself standing there at the queue at the airport looking at the cricket ground. Whereas the Test match is actually going to take place at North Sound at the Sir Viv Richards Stadium. So slightly different conditions. So we'll see what happens, depending what the team's going to get picked. But as I said, I'm looking forward to seeing a proper wicketkeeper. Not saying that Bairstow and Butler aren't, but Folkes is probably the best out of the 3 in terms of being a wicketkeeper, and he can bat. But this is where Butler and Bairstow have that edge on Folkes, because they are better batsmen than Folkes is. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's always good watching the games in the West Indies. Normally we're watching the West Indies when it's miserable outside here in England, but actually the sun's shining. It's not warm, but the sun is shining. But of course, it's great at the moment, because obviously the India game finished early, but we could have had the situation of watching India, Pakistan, a couple of hours, and then watching the West Indies. So I'm sure some people will be sitting on their sofas just doing nothing, watching cricket all day long, which is great. Yeah, I've got a few minutes during my lunch break just to listen in and have a quick chat, and then better crack on with some work. But I'll be listening to the cricket Test match special, which is always a privilege listening to that. It's great, and then probably watch it later on. But certainly, we're excited. We always enjoy going to the West Indies. There may be a bit more people travelling, obviously with the COVID restrictions slowly being lifted. I know the Barmy Army love going to Australia. I think Australia is their #1 destination, but certainly everyone likes the West Indies tour. What you may see in the grounds is busy, but what's happening in the bars is just crazy. It's great. It's a real party atmosphere. And I think it goes back to the 2007 World Cup. I was there on St Kitts watching Australia, South Africa, Scotland and the Netherlands. I was staying at a friend of mine who was working at the Marriott Hotel there. And although the West Indies
is the hotel in St Kitts, really, isn't it?
Basically, yeah. But it's certainly increased now. but the organisers got the pricing wrong because they charged the same tickets to everyone. So as we were like, yeah, okay, we'll pay for that, whereas they were too expensive for the locals to watch every game. So people were criticising to say that the stadiums are empty. But yeah, the stadiums might have been quiet, but the beach bars certainly weren't. It was a great atmosphere. So yeah, watching the cricket in the West Indies, it's not for the faint-hearted. You've got to expect a lot of noise, a lot of atmosphere, a lot of rum. So I'm looking forward to watching that series and catching up with that.
How many tests is it?
I think 3 test series, I think, and a couple of one days, something like that. I don't know the details, but I think it's about that. Normally 3 tests, yeah.
Well, it's good for England to redeem themselves somewhat after the Ashes series. They need to get themselves on better footing. And hopefully that Ben Stokes fires and Bairstow, I'm sure will. I actually think Root's going to bat number 3. I think that's what the plan is.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of rumours about it, and we'll see what happens. But of course, it's a whole new coaching regime, the changing in the selectors' policy as well. So England will be looking to make a very strong and firm point in this first test to take forward to say, look, guys, this is the new way we're going to do things. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, the batting, I think the batting, apart from the openers, which is just slightly we know about Crawley. Least, we'll see what happens. The middle order, very strong. The bowling, it's going to be an issue. That's my concern. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I think it'll be an interesting series because I think West Indies aren't exactly at their best either. They got reasonable. It depends whether the big guy, what's his name, Cornwall.
He's a character, and you need characters in the game. Hi, Robert. Just a quick note. Jofra, you're not seeing Jofra for a long time. You will not see. I don't think you will ever see Jofra Archer in a Test match arena again. Just answering the question there. I think it may be like a Tymel Mills where you may see him in one dayers and 2020s only. But yeah, he's going to be resting a long time. He had another operation late last year on his on his elbow.
So are you suggesting he will never play again?
I don't think, given the injury that he's got and what they've spoken about it, I don't think he could stand up for doing Test match cricket or Test match bowling, because he's just had such this lazy action coming in and so much effort bowling the ball that he's obviously done something to his elbow, is worn away or something like that. I'd love to see him come back, and hopefully I would like to be proved wrong, but I think if you see him again, it'll be in the white ball game.
Yeah, and where the money is too, which will be a fair call.
Yeah. But I'm interested to see the Windies pick. Obviously, you've got probably obviously you're going to have definitely Jason Holder. There was it's a really short, stocky, fast bowler. O'Shane, I think it is. It's I think so. O'Shane Neal or something like that. I saw him watching a little bit of the Caribbean Premier League, and he just looked like just a ball of muscle that would just come in and just poof, pull that ball down. And I'd be interested to see if they play him. Kieran Pollard, definitely. Robert, he'll be playing. So it'd be interesting to see who they pick. Obviously, you've got the IPL coming up as well for the Windies players. I don't know which ones are staying for the full series and which ones are jetting off. But no, it's always special playing the West Indies. It's just the sound, the music, and just the experience. Just the beautiful sun-drenched beaches in the background. Yeah.
Well, I adore, especially Antigua, is one of my favourite places. Well, thanks, Bunch. That was great. Just a quick word on Shane Warne. Where were you when you found out?
I was sitting here working, and my phone pinged, and there was a Cricinfo update, and it just said, Australian cricketer, heart attack. I just quickly looked. I thought, oh, they're just sending out another one about Marsh. And then I looked down again. I thought, oh my God, it's Shane Warne. And so obviously you start looking, and then you see the breaking news everywhere. And just in a state of shock. It really affected me. It was sad that Rod Marsh went, obviously mid-70s, and I grew up, obviously, late 70s, certainly the 80s, the famous 1981 series with Rod Marsh, killing the bookies for his bets at 500 to 1. But I think Shane Warne, because of what he did to the game, or for the game, Shane Warne transformed spinning. Spinning became cool again. Now, people, oh yeah, he's second to Murali. Now, Murali, great bowler as well, and a lovely guy, but Shane didn't play many games against Zimbabwe. He didn't really play many games against Bangladesh. So yeah, obviously had the year out for suspension and injuries, etc. So if he'd played all the series that Australia played, he would have easily beaten Murali, and Murali played against all these other teams. Now, yeah, so to me, Shane's the greatest bowler. And I put a link in earlier. There's a petition doing the rounds to get a posthumous knighthood for Shane Warne. If you look at Wisden's 5 cricketers of the century, Shane Warne only played in 7 years of that, 93 to 2000. But it's Sir Jack Hobbs, it's Sir Don Bradman, it's Sir Garfield Sobers, and it's Sir Viv Richards. It's not really a tragedy, but it would be a fitting honour to make it Sir Shane Warne, and give that as a tribute to his family.
I'm sure that'll happen. Thanks to your efforts. Well, thanks, Bunch. That was fantastic. I really appreciate your time, and always good to have you on.
No, well, you can get some sleep now, Norman, then you can wake up and watch the end of the day's play.
Thanks, Bunchy. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Speak to you soon. Yeah. Bye.
That was great having Munch to come and do an update on the England West Indies series, fantastic as it is. Okay, guys, we might go now on that basis. So view, like, and share the post. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the notification button. We'll see you at the second test for Australia, Pakistan, and a bit about the West Indies England series, and God knows many other things. Women's World Cup was also happening, and today was International Women's Day. So I should thank all women out there. It's your day, International Women's Day. Go and have a great time. So all the best, guys. We'll talk more. So there's been a state funeral offered to Marsh. Norman, do they accept it? Not aware of them, except when they ever need me to say that. You would think they would. All the best, guys. Take care. We'll catch up very soon again.